The following interviews are patients of mine who didn't want to be identified, and so I'm going to be speaking with them over speakerphone, and we're going to be speaking about a variety of topics, so I hope you enjoy it. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, Dr. Corona.
Hey.
Good. How about yourself?
Good. So last time
speaking, I should say.
Yeah, last time I talked to you, you said you were doing well overall. Things were good. How are things doing now?
I'm still struggling with the anxiety. That's my main number one issue. And
Okay.
if we could squash that, I'd be a happy man.
What's going on? Is there anything situationally that's causing it?
No, it's generalized. It's pretty generalized. I mean, I could look at the stress of my work, but I was thinking about it, and if I wasn't at work anymore, then I'd be stressing about not having anything to do. So.
Well, the thing about stress is,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because the thing about stress is people are always looking for a reason. People are like, well, even people who have it really well off, and you think they have nothing to worry about, and they have no financial worries, and no family's fine. And they're like, I don't understand why I have anxiety. Everyone's looking for the reason. There's not always a reason. Sometimes it just happens for no reason. Sometimes you can define it. Oh, yes, this happened, my work situation, or my wife, or whatever. Some people will say I can define exactly what's causing it, but that's not always the case. It's pretty universal. That anxiety just kind of comes on even when you don't. There's no obvious cause of it. The medications. Let's see. I have you on. I know it's the Pristiq, the Wellbutrin, the Seroquel, and the gabapentin, right?
Right.
And you also are on the alprazolam, right? You're on Xanax too.
Right.
Does it seem like that's enough Xanax, or do you need a little bit more of that?
I want to try to run with what we got now and see how it goes.
Okay.
Since we've already kind of upped the strength a little bit, so hopefully I won't have to up the strength again.
Well, I might just give you the little bit higher dose. That way you can always cut them, and that gives you a little bit more flexibility if you need it.
Cut back. Okay, right. I got you.
Yeah, so I want to make sure you don't run out of anything, and then obviously, things like exercise is important. Make sure you get out and exercise, but
I have a mobile gym right outside my bedroom. I use it every day.
Yeah. But I think I've been thinking about it. I think maybe I want to add something. It's something called Rexulti. It's a really good newer medication, and it can really help to kind of squelch the anxiety. So I think I'm going to have you maybe come by and get some samples of that so we can test it out and see how that goes. And then I guess I'm gonna send the pharmacy a little bit more of the alprazolam. Yeah, and I'm not worried about you. I'm not worried about you getting addicted to it. That's not who you are, and you're very careful with it, and so I understand that.
Yes.
But I'm going to do that, and then maybe it's going to take maybe about a week or two for the Rexulti to work. So why don't you just maybe give me a call back, even without an appointment? Just call me back in a couple weeks for a check-in. And then we can just talk about how that's going, and then we can kind of take it from there. Yeah. How's the family? Is family's good?
I'm really hoping for success with that. Yeah, the family's all good.
Good.
Our oldest daughter came back to live at home with us. And,
okay.
So I'm glad to have her. It's not an ideal situation for her, but I'm glad to have her.
My daughter comes back. She lives up in L.A., but she comes back fairly frequently. She does her laundry with us. So she still has her bedroom. We haven't Airbnb'd her bedroom yet. So she comes back to see the family dog.
It's a safe harbor. That's what I always want to provide my kids.
Yep.
A safe harbor.
Yeah. Yeah. She gets home cooking, laundromat, see the dog. So she likes coming home, even though she likes LA. She's independent, but it's amazing how they still come home. So, but that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
That means we're a good family, right?
That's right. That's right. So, all right. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Okay.
Nothing else?
That's it.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, thank you very
We'll
much,
talk soon.
Dr. Corona.
Okay.
Appreciate
All right.
everything you do. Bye.
Basically, we talked about, there was a lot of work anxiety, but basically, like I told him, anxiety is anxiety. It doesn't always have to have a reason. It's just anxiety of just life. He has kids, a job, responsibilities. Just sometimes it just overwhelms people. So with him, he was on a really good combination of Pristique, which works on serotonin and norepinephrine, Wellbutrin works on dopamine, gabapentin working on GABA, Seroquel being, again, a dopamine antagonist, which slows down dopamine, Wellbutrin speeds it up, so it's kind of a nice balance. So because of the breakthrough anxiety, and he's on a pretty good combination already, I call it 4 out of 4. He had 4 out of 4 imbalances, so that's why he's on a combination of medications. So Rexulti, again, is a really good medication. Not to play favorites here, because there's also a really good one called Vraylar, another one called Caplyta, and Lybalvi. There's some really good ones on the market now. But in his case, I chose Rexulti, but it's going to basically just a little bit more calming down dopamine, and so hopefully that'll take care of it. Give him some Xanax so he can use that as needed. I try to limit Xanax, things like that, to only as needed. It is addictive potential, yes, so I have to kind of keep an eye on that, of course. So this woman, I've seen for a few months or so. She didn't want to come on. I mean, they're all my patients. There's no actors. Everyone's voluntarily. Everyone said they're very appreciative of what I do, and they're very helpful, and they want to help me out, so which is great. This woman, interesting. So when I first saw her, she's a very successful businesswoman. She just recently sold one of her companies, and so when I first saw her, she had a lot of anxiety problems. She had seen a couple different doctors, and unsuccessfully. The last one had put her on Zoloft, which is a SSRI. Didn't really work very well, so she stopped it. So when she first saw me, after taking a really long history, she had very typical anxiety symptoms, including not only anxiety, but headaches and muscle tension in back and neck and stomach. And so she had a lot of physical problems. So I knew right there that she would probably be a perfect candidate for an SNRI. So I put her on Pristique. She responded very well to it. The anxiety got significantly better. Her body felt better. The pain, everything got better. And then I continued. She had a little bit of anxiety left, but not much. And so we talked about exercising, like I do with all my patients, and trying to just, I also tell people how to breathe, make sure that you breathe in, breathe out. So I usually go over with patients breathing techniques to relax. But with her, I put a note in there that, okay, if the anxiety starts to come back, then we could always raise the dose of Pristique, because I have her on an average dose, and then there's a higher dose. So, and the next visit after that, she was still doing well. Anxiety was still pretty well controlled with what I just said. The last visit, last week, she came in, and she had just been to the ER a few days before with a panic attack. And I asked her what was happening. She said, well, I stopped the Pristique. I go, why? She goes, well, because the anxiety started coming back. It wasn't helping. And then I reminded her that, well, remember when that was happening, we were supposed to increase the dose. And she said, well, I just stopped it, and I'm just feeling terrible. So then she says to me, I want you to put me on Lexapro. And I asked her why, and she said, well, I've been researching it. I've been going online. I looked into it. I've been talking to some friends who take Lexapro, and I want to try Lexapro because it sounds really good. And so I have this conversation with many patients over many years about, and I'm going to share my advice with you. That I did with her. There's 3 sources of medical information you never want to use. Number 1, the internet. So why not the internet? Because it's full of misinformation. It's all scary looking. I mean, think about a commercial on TV when they talk about medication. You talk about all these great things, and then you have like 5-minute litany of like, well, you could die from it, or you could, all these, your limbs could fall off. I mean, all these things that they say that are like, wow, I don't want to take that. Do you hear what they said? And these medications on TV, by the way, like Vraylar, Rexulti, I prescribe a lot of them. I've never seen one of the things they say on TV, not once. So they're talking about extremely rare, maybe something that happened in a rat in the study or something. So now when you go online, you're introduced to a lot of opinions and chat rooms, and so you're basically exposed to people who have no science background. They just have their opinions. And then people might say, well, how about if I go on WebMD or one of the medical? It's like, well, it's still bad because they're still government regulated, and maybe it's a little bit better than some of the chat rooms where you're talking to people who have no idea what they're talking about. And but the media or the internet is just, like I said, it's just a terrible source. When someone has anxiety already, the worst thing to do is go online and start reading about things, because I tell people, if you read about Robitussin cough syrup, you'd never take it again, because if you read about Tylenol, you would never, because there's all this information that doesn't apply to you. And so people call me and say, can I have a glass of alcohol tonight, because the Tylenol bottle says don't take with alcohol. I said, it's fine. But what's happening there is that, because the company, if you drink and drive and get in an accident and then sue Tylenol, because Tylenol could let people say, well, it says right on the bottle, don't mix with alcohol. So they get out. So it's basically CYA is what that is. But anyway, so internet, I told her my whole internet lecture about don't do it, don't be tempted. I explained it's like getting medical advice from attorneys. You don't want to get medical advice from attorneys. You don't want to get legal advice from doctors, okay? So just don't do it. And as tempting as it might be, don't do it. Number 2, family and friends. Why is this bad? Well, for obvious reasons. They're not doctors. Now, let's say people say, well, my sister's an RN. I go, great. She's an RN, so she's really smart. Does she prescribe medications? No. Okay. Does she have any? No, she doesn't. Okay. Well, my brother is a doctor. Okay. What kind of doctor? Anesthesiologist. Okay. Does he prescribe medications? He doesn't. Okay. So even if they have, well, my sister's a neuroscientist. Great. She works in a laboratory. Excellent. Does she prescribe? No. So it doesn't matter if there's medical knowledge there or not, or scientific background. It doesn't matter. They're family and friends. And but my cousin said that they did well with this. Well, that's your cousin. That's not you. So, so you'd never want to get advice from people who just don't, even though they may mean well and they care about you, it's not a good idea, because, you're going to get misinformed. And you basically want to get advice from your doctor is the best place to get it, not the online, and not from family and friends. Number 3 is pharmacists. Okay, now why pharmacists? The same reason. They don't prescribe, they dispense medications. Now, if I'm sure everyone's had this experience when you go to the pharmacy, you take a medication home, and they give you this big handout. So it's this big thing that you can unfold it, and it's like this big, and it's like, and they give it to you, and then so someone will leave the pharmacy, get home, and look at that and start reading, and it's like, oh my God, it's just, did Dr. Corona know what he's giving me? This sounds terrible. And the pharmacist doesn't help that, because they say, well, here, what we do as doctors when we have those things on bottles and samples, we just throw them away. So my best advice is, when you get one of those, go to your nearest trash can, throw it away. Don't even open it up, because it's just going to scare you. It's the same thing about commercials, the same thing about family and friends and the internet, all that. It just basically is just bad information. It's not information that's clinical. That doesn't apply to you. Again, so who's the best person to give you advice? The person you go to seek treatment. And it's the obvious answer. I don't mean to be flippant about this, because people might laugh about it. Well, of course. Yeah, of course, because myself, others like me, this is what we do. We train to do this. We individualize what we're doing with people. So if you want to know the reality of what side effects to expect and I can do that for you. I can give you exactly, okay, here's the things to watch for. If you get this, you might want to call me and stop it or whatever. So that's what I told her. Despite everything I said, which I predicted, she's like, okay, that's fine. I still want the Lexapro, fine. But I told her, I said, but would you be open that if your plan doesn't work, that you'll call me back and be open to going back on the Prestige again? And she said yes. And what's going to happen with her, I'm going to predict it right now. I haven't seen her back. I'm going to predict that she's going to take the Lexapro. She's not going to get better. She might end up in the ER again. You never know. Even though I told her that when you're going to go to the ER, just breathe, work on your breathing, go take some long walks. Because you're going to save yourself an ER visit that doesn't need to happen. But people when they go to the ER, they're panicked. They think their heart's going to stop. They think they're going to stop breathing. But what's going to happen is not going to work, just like the Zoloft didn't work. And then she's going to call me again for a next appointment. I'm going to put her back on Prestige. But now that I know, what I'll say is, okay, we're going to put the Prestige back again, but we're going to do 50 milligrams for a week for you to adjust back to it, and then double to 100, which is the highest dose it comes in. So in her case, she's going to be on 100 milligram Prestige. I already know that. But based on my previous experience, based on the fact that Prestige worked, it's just that we never got the dosing right. Because had she called me back, before stopping, had she called me back and said it's not working anymore, right there I would have told her to double it. But since that didn't happen, here's where we're at with her. So I just thought this was a good case to talk about, to explain the importance of where to get advice, where not to get advice. And I hope you find it helpful. So how you want to follow up and see how you're doing? Because I think last time I talked to you, you're on just the Prozac and the Adderall, right?
Correct.
And how are things going?
Overall, I would say very well to excellent.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate that you talked me through so many things. It's more than working with you is just more than a quick meetup. Like, I know that you're really very interested in my well-being, my mental well-being, my health, who I am as a person. So it makes it really easy to get a hold of you and talk with you and do my follow-up appointments with you. But you just hung in there with me. I want to say you hung in there with me until we found something that was going to work for me, and I appreciate that.
That's why I love doing it. I love doing it because I love, you've been a patient for a while, and I love helping people, and you're a pleasure to help. And because you went through a tough, accident, right? I mean, you really went through some pretty bad trauma.
Yes.
How did you? How did that affect you?
I felt that it will be 4 years this month, actually.
Yeah.
And I felt that at the times I needed you and needed the support during that first year, because I didn't go back to work for almost 2 years.
Wow.
I really felt that the support I needed was available from you, and that I can't say that about everyone who has been my doctor over the past decades.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that I could come in and also talk to you, that it wasn't just the medication, it was a lot more than that for me, especially working with you. Knowing that I could talk to you about some of the things I was feeling, and you would listen and you would make adjustments, and you would ask me a lot of questions. It's not just the medication, it's the combination of how you do what you do and your knowledge of what it is you do.
Well, and I think with what I do, I do meds, of course, but I like to, to do what I do the best, I have to get to really know people like yourself and your family. I really have to get to know people to understand like what their needs are and how I can help. And that usually goes beyond what medications do. It's just the support system, the fact that I know how difficult what you went through and just trying to stick in there with you. But you've done an amazing job, and I'm really proud of the progress you've made and your daughter, and I know you're thinking about moving, which is exciting too. But I think you're on a really good combination. I think obviously the Prozac is helping the stress, and the Adderall is helping with clarity of thinking and focus and all that. And so, so you're on a really good combination here. So okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Great.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on. Say hi to your daughter.
I will.
All right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Sure.
Bye.
Yeah, so she basically had gotten into an accident. She had gone over a cliff. So she had gone through the divider of really a pretty high cliff, and her car careened down about, I don't know how many, couple hundred feet or so. And so she almost died. And by the time they got to her, they had to do like the jaws of life to get her out, and she was pretty much out of it, and she was hospitalized for a while, and so she was really traumatized. She had some brain injuries, so that's why I said she didn't work for like 2 years, because just recovering from the trauma of that. And then, she said that she had pictures of it, and she would look at the pictures occasionally of that the people would took when they got her, and she said, I can't believe that was me. And so with her, it was definitely a recovery process. But with her, it was very simple as far as medication wise. Prozac, a simple SSRI. So again, I'm not anti-SSRI. Obviously, I have a lot of people on like Lexapro. We talked about other medications I've talked about. And then Adderall. I mean, so people disregard the importance of ADD. Stimulants are amazing for people who have it, and if without taking it, talk to a person with ADD, they don't function as well, they don't focus, they're scattered, they can't concentrate they can't organize, they can't multitask. So being on a stimulant is not, it's very misunderstood, and a lot of people are anti what they don't understand, and they're anti. So a lot of people just, they don't understand. And if you don't understand, it's probably best to just not have an opinion, because, people have opinions about something like that, and that affects other people, when you have opinions and voice them, and other people might take that seriously, and that doesn't help.
Hi, Dr. Corona.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How have you been?
Good, excellent. So thanks for coming on. I just, I wanted to touch base about, I think last time I talked to you, I know I had you on the Prestique, and I think we are also on Trazodone for your sleep. But I think you were still having a lot of problem with anxiety and maybe some depression, and I added the Rexulti in. So how is that going now?
It's going good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Wellbutrin helped as well.
Right. I think Wellbutrin was the last thing I added, right? That's the one I just added.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that one really cleared the fog.
What did the Rexulti do before the Wellbutrin?
The Rexulti kind of took the edge off, I'd say.
Okay. Good.
But I still had this, lingering, bottoming out. It's like this feeling. I don't know how else to describe it other than it's just depression, but it's just this feeling of, deep sadness and, hopelessness. And, I don't know, the Wellbutrin just took that away.
Yeah. How's your body? Any physical changes that you can see in your body, or is everything feeling good?
Everything's feeling good. I mean, since I've been taking the Wellbutrin, I've noticed my motivation change. So I've just been getting a lot done since then, and I just feel like I'm on a roll.
Good. So do you feel pretty much back to yourself again? Anything that's lingering that's not right, or is everything really good?
No, everything's really good. I'm really happy with where I'm at.
Good. Well, you sound great. I know it took a few visits to get the mix right here for you.
Right.
But I'm glad. It takes a piece at a time, to figure this out again. Basically, in your case, there was really three main chemicals that were out of balance. So serotonin is where Prestique works. It's where Trazodone's working, and then norepinephrine is where Prestique's working, and then Wellbutrin and Rexulti are working on dopamine. So they kind of basically Rexulti is calming dopamine down, and then Wellbutrin is revving it up in a sense. So being on both of them is kind of, I call it balancing dopamine 24/7 by combining medications like this in unique ways, and that's why you got to this level, because without the Rexulti or without the Wellbutrin, you would not feel as good as you're at now. You'd feel better, but not where you're at now. So I think it's getting the mix right is what the secret sauce.
Yeah.
But
I agree. It helps.
But good. All right. Well, good. Well, that's what I want to hear. So we'll talk about, separately, I'll talk about getting you the refills, and I think I'm going to call in, because I think we went up to the Wellbutrin, didn't we? You were going to do 150, then we doubled it to 300, right?
That's right.
And then the 300 was better, right?
300 was the sweet spot.
Okay, good, perfect. So you're taking two 150s now, so I'm going to call them the 300 tablets now for you. And I think you're okay probably on the other ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever you need anything in my office, like I said, when you need something, it's done every day. Whenever you need refills, just tell the pharmacy, they send it to me for approval. So good. I will probably see you back in maybe a month or two or so. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. Talk soon. All right.
Take care.
Yeah, so another, success story. But again, this one, in her case, again, it's when I talked on the board about dopamine. Dopamine's a trickier one because sometimes with dopamine, it's going too slow and sometimes it's going too fast. And so what I did first, and again, I don't mean to keep plugging Rexulti. It's amazing medication, but I could have used Vraylar easily with this person and could have probably worked just as well. Which is another really amazing medication, and there's other ones too. And so basically, I chose that first because she was having like anxiety and agitation. If I put Wellbutrin in first, sometimes that's going to increase anxiety. So I put the Rexulti in first, added it to the Prestige. So that calms the dopamine down. But then the problem is, as in her case, I added Wellbutrin because she says that now I'm tired, I'm not motivated, I have no energy. So when I put the Wellbutrin in, boom, energy, motivation, drive, happy, positive. Like in her case, she's doing great. So she's on the really good mix of medication. The Trazone's helping her sleep. Trazone's a very common medication we give for sleep. It's non-addictive. It's a good one. And I was telling her, in my practice is kind of strange. Most doctors' practices, you call them, you never get a hold of them. You leave a message, and you don't hear back. In my practice, it's different. I've from the very beginning of my practice, I return every phone call same day. I return every email same day. If someone needs something, I don't leave the office until everything's done and everything's off my desk. So it's just what amazes me in medicine is the lack of customer service out there, and also the rudeness of staff. And if you ever met Leslie, she's an amazing assistant, but Leslie is so pleasant, and people rave about her because they say, "Oh my gosh, she's just great." Well, yeah, she is great. But what we give here is a really good customer service because friendly environment. You get in pretty promptly. We don't let things go. So if someone's running out of something, we get it refilled right away. And so again, I'm a phone call away. I do this with everybody. And the other thing I do, which is very unique, is like when I see someone for the first time, I have them call me back in a week. Now, why do I do that? Because normally I can tell within 1 week, whatever I give the person, I can tell within 1 week if it's going to work. It's quick to know. I mean, within 4 to 6 days at the most, I can tell if I'm if I gave them the right medication. Let's say I didn't. Let's say I call them and they're not doing great, or they're getting side effects and not benefit. Okay, I chose wrong. That means I gave them the wrong medication. I have to rethink the formula. I got to look at my diagram in my head, and I got to go, okay, well, it must be this. And so I stop this, I give them this instead. So that way I'm not wasting time for people. I don't want people to be suffering in silence and then have side effects and have problems, and then they can't, and then they have to wait till the next visit, or maybe they don't come in because they don't want to come in because they don't like what the phone call, basically, it shows them that I care, which I do. It shows them that I want to get this figured out as quickly as we can. It normally takes me about 2 to 3 visits to figure this stuff out, at the very most. Sometimes 1 visit is all it takes. Sometimes 2 or 3, but normally most patients I'm able to get to the state of what we call remission, and within 2 or 3 visits. 2 or 3 visits. Remission means completely well, like these people, like her, like all the other ones. They're completely well. There's nothing else I'm doing. There's no changes I'm making. That's remission. That's the state I'm looking for every person. And until I get there, I don't rest. Unless I'm there with every person, I keep pushing. I keep pushing until I get them there. And so that's why, I think that we're known for that here because, and sometimes I'll talk to the person 2 or 3 times before our next visit because I'll do something. I'll say, call me back in a week. And then sometimes I won't see the person for another month. And then we'll talk 2 or 3 times. That's the way I do things. I don't like to wait around. I like to work quickly. I make decisions quickly, and I can tell right away if I make the right decision or not based on the results and based on what people tell me. So. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you have issues with mental health, or if you know someone who needs help, I'm available. If you want to contact my office, my website is drpaulcoronamd.com. That's DR for doctor. And you can also learn more about me on my website. My phone number, if you want to contact my office directly, is 949-481-0118. If you want to learn more about my methods and what I do, my latest book, I recommend The Corona Protocol, a scientifically proven medical solution to stop addiction, bullying, homelessness, school shootings, and suicide, 30 years in the making. In this book, I tell 30 original short stories about people. And I also have my first 3 books, Healing the Mind and Body, the trilogy, available online. I look forward to you joining me again on the next episode of the Dr. Paul Show.